You are listening to the Keep the Weight Off podcast with Dr. Angela, episode number 81.
Welcome to the Keep the Weight Off podcast, where we bust all the dieting myths and discover not just how to lose weight, but more importantly, how to keep it off. We go way beyond the food, and we use science and psychology to give you strategies that work. And now your host, Dr. Angela Zechmann.
All right, everyone, welcome back. This week is part 3 of my very special interview with Cassie Becker, who's lost 175 pounds and kept it off. If you haven't heard the previous 2 parts of the interview, go back and listen to parts 1 and part 2 first. And be sure to watch these interviews on the Dr. Angela Zechmann channel on YouTube, because it's a video interview and I do show photos of her along her journey. And while you're over on YouTube, make sure to like and share the video and subscribe to the channel, and I would really appreciate that. Thanks for doing that. Okay, so as a reminder, Cassie started her journey with me at age 32 in December of 2008 when she weighed 340 pounds. Cassie lost the first 100 pounds with my help, and the other 75 pounds came off later. It was a dramatic transformation that occurred over the course of many years, and Cassie learned so much about herself on the way. In part 3 of our interview, we talk about addiction, about her mantras for staying motivated, about what happens to all that loose skin, and a lot more. So without further ado, here is part 3 of our discussion.
So you learned about addiction in your counseling?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you learned that this was the food addiction did you feel that flour was as equally addictive as sugar?
Oh, absolutely.
Both
absolutely.
Of them together. Were there other components of food that you felt were addictive too? Or that you discovered were addictive?
Oh, corn is addictive for me. Potatoes are addictive for me. Anything with simple sugar. Yeah. If it grows underground, off limits. If it is refined, if it has gluten, for me, that's out. So, corn, anything that's been that modified, corn is one of the most genetically modified foods out there, as is soy. And once they're not the same beast as they were 55, 60 years ago, they're a completely different thing now. And so my body doesn't know what to do with it. Yeah. It's no longer an authentic food anymore.
So did you say corn and soy?
Oh yeah. Soy I can't do because it's an inflammatory for Hashimoto's.
Ah, okay.
But corn, I just like it. It tastes good, and popping it with, lots of other wonderful things on it is wonderful. So that's something I have to be really cautious with.
I made keto cornbread one year for Thanksgiving, which I thought would be perfectly safe because it was keto. I ate at least 2 pieces for Thanksgiving dinner, and then the whole next day, everybody had gone, and it was me and the cornbread, and that was all I ate the whole next day. And I was like, there's something about this stuff. Like, my brain is responding to it, I knew that the pumpkin pie had to be gone, and I knew that whatever, all the desserts had to be gone. That was easy to get rid of for me. But that perfectly keto cornbread, like, what was that doing? Like, so interesting.
Yeah. So corn, beans are another one for me.
Yeah.
Just can't do beans. I have a list of my triggers.
Yeah.
Trigger
yeah.
food.
And so one of the things, would you advise people who want to lose weight and keep it off to discover what their trigger foods are? Like, do some scientific experiments to find out. Like, I didn't know cornbread was a trigger for me.
And whether you have blood sugar issues or not,
Mm-hmm.
have a blood sugar monitor at home. Do
Oh.
your own tests. Do
Mm.
your own tests. Okay, blood sugar is normal right now. I'm going to see, okay, cornbread, keto cornbread. Eat some.
Mm-hmm.
Half hour, hour later, you just see what it did to you.
Ah. So did you have a continuous glucose monitor then?
I did for a while, and my body didn't do it. It lied to me a lot. So,
What, the CGM lied to you?
yeah, a
Oh.
lot.
Oh, okay.
It was very interesting. I don't know if I wasn't applying it right or who knows what in the world was going on, but it would alarm all night long and I would be fine. I mean, it didn't make any sense why it would
Right.
be alarming. I hadn't eaten anything and I'd get a high alarm
Hmm.
and just random stuff like that.
Maybe a
So,
maladaptive one or something. Hmm.
yeah, and it became too tedious for me.
Mhm.
Um, if it didn't feel like it was making sense, I would try to figure it out so much that I lost focus of other stuff that was more important.
Yeah. Yeah. Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
anyway, but yes, I definitely think that finding personal trigger foods is really important. And
Yeah.
it's going to be different for every person.
Yeah. I agree. I couldn't agree more because I've had a lot of patients tell me, like I always say I call it finding your drug delivery system of choice. So it's like for some people it's soda. It's
Oh,
the
yeah.
caffeine and sugar in combination. For some people it's chips, it's the salty crunchy stuff. For some
Yep.
people it's everything. For some people it's popcorn, so everybody's just a little bit different in terms of their drug delivery system of choice. For me, it happens to be sugar and flour in combination. So baked goods are a huge trigger. It doesn't matter what kind of baked goods.
Mhm.
My brain will not stop thinking about it. So,
Right.
yeah. So that's an important thing. And to understand, yeah, there's a huge dopamine hit from this stuff. Dopamine is the pleasure hormone. And, um, it will definitely demand to be fed over and over and over again. And
Mhm.
getting off of that stuff it can be tricky,
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
White knuckle it for a few days, but
Mhm.
those few days, just make sure you're alone.
Make sure you're alive. I always tell people, you're going to want to divorce your husband. You're going to want to quit your job. You're going to want to like give your kids away. I had a gal come into the office one time and she said, I hate my boyfriend. I just hate him. And I said, what day are you right now on your sugar withdrawal? And she said, I'm on day 3. And I said, just hold tight. It'll be okay.
It's a real thing.
It
It's real.
is. It's serious drug withdrawal, and some people get massive headaches. They feel totally crappy. They have to go to bed for a few days. It's a real thing. It's a powerful drug. So yeah,
It
yeah.
is. It
Well,
is.
can I ask you some sort of personal questions that, um, and if you don't want to answer them, it's okay. But one of the questions that I have is, um, you had lost a bunch of weight and then you had gotten divorced, and I'm wondering how your husband responded to your weight loss, and if the divorce had anything to do with the weight loss, or if that it was just time.
So I'm happy to answer questions. And I'm going to be vague and direct
Mhm.
for different things.
Yeah.
So by the time we separated in August of 2019, um, I pretty much knew it was doomed
Mm-hmm.
probably 4 years previous. But I made a decision at that 4 years ago point to choose to be happy,
Mm-hmm.
um, and stay in the marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but my emotion, I found myself emotionally checking out.
Mm-hmm.
for those 4 years. And that's when I really gave myself the freedom to work on me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when the biggest transformative weight loss happened.
Mm.
Um, he was always supportive of the weight loss, but he had never struggled with weight a day in his life. He was 165 pounds soaking wet.
Mm-hmm.
And so, um, yeah, it just, I mean, he was supportive, but I don't think he grasped
Mm-hmm.
what I had accomplished, if
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah, that does make sense. Yeah.
And then when finally the straw broke, what basically I was able to say to myself is, you know what? I deserve to be happy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to just accept, my where I'm at if it's not fulfilling to me. I deserve to feel love and to love. And so final straw, I
Mm-hmm.
was able to have those feelings for myself,
Mm-hmm.
and that's when I was able to walk away.
Yeah. 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 I realized personally that when I stopped focusing so much on all of the dieting and the exercise and all of that stuff, like it was sort of covering up for me all of that obsession, that kind of obsession that you described when you got down really low.
Yes.
It was covering up the underlying issues that were going on in the marriage, and so I had to face some facts. It's like, and so sometimes food can do that for us, whether it's an obsession with being lean or whether it's eating and continuing to eat, um, and sort of feeding that addiction cycle. Um, when we stop all of those behaviors, it's a little bit like turning the lights on and wow, there's some stuff to deal with here, and that can happen. And I've seen that happen many times in people's weight loss journeys, where not necessarily a divorce, but oftentimes they'll change jobs. They'll be like, what am I doing in this job? Like, I can't stand this.
Yeah.
Or they will move into, they'll keep their jobs, but they'll also do something more creative. They'll start like an online business, or they'll start doing more creative work. It's very interesting what can happen when the brain is no longer so focused on the food and the restrictions and all of that, or the, you know, because when you're eating, when you're feeding an addiction, you spend a lot of time feeling guilty for that,
Yeah.
and then your brain, it just takes up a lot of brain space. It really does.
It
So
does.
when
You're
you
absolutely right.
yeah, my next question has to do with what was it like for you, um, dating and explaining to your new partners that you weren't going to just, go out and eat whatever whenever, and or drinking or whatever. How was that? How was it in a dating world? Trying to,
Uh,
because we have so much social pressure to eat and drink.
yes, you're absolutely right. Most dates are dinner, right?
Right?
Or whatever. And I just was unapologetic about it. I was like, this is what I can eat.
Mm-hmm.
And so here's the bottom line. You can find what you need just nearly any restaurant you go into.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to be willing to ask for it. It
Mm-hmm.
may not even be on the menu, but if you don't see anything on there, but they have salads and they have a chicken over here, I'd like this salad without all the other crap on it and a chicken breast. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to have the confidence to be able to do that. And they have always accommodated. And for the most part, I didn't feel like anybody was like, oh, here we go, or here's diva, um, or whatever.
Yeah.
I felt like, you know what? I'm unapologetically me.
Mm-hmm.
Take it or leave it.
My daughter will say to me, "Oh, Mom, you're so extra." And I'll just be like, "I am extra. Look at all the extra that you get."
That's just it. We figure out who is for us when we become authentic to ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
I am extra.
Mm-hmm.
I know what it looks like not to be extra.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what. So here's something after the divorce and entering the dating scene. I had no idea that people would think I was attractive.
Oh, you're
I
kidding.
mean, no, I just had no concept. Blown out of the water because I didn't see that in myself. I always knew I had a pretty face, but it blew my mind.
Wow.
Yeah. And my husband, he's so precious. When we are a Match.com success story, by the way.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm going to go
Yeah.
back and show the audience the pictures of you guys again.
So
While you're
Match.com.
talking about it.
And so, of course, you talk on Match for a minute and then you exchange phone numbers and then you start texting and
Mm-hmm.
and you accept friend requests from each other and he confessed to me after we had been dating for a while that he had to stop looking at my Facebook profile. He says if I kept looking, I would be just too intimidated. I was like, what? I just was dumbfounded. I don't understand. And he just was like, well, you don't get it, do you? And I really didn't get it. What he saw in me. And so it was definitely a big eye opener
Huh.
of how I perceived myself.
Yeah.
And how other people perceived me.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Oh, that's so, I love that. I love that story. Oh, all right. I have another question for you. I got to go back to the pictures. I'm going to go to the one where you are too thin.
Mm-hmm.
And people ask me this all the time. What happens to all the skin? And
Okay.
what do I do with all the skin?
Okay. So I have to confess, one of my dates in the in between, I went on a couple dates with a plastic surgeon.
Ah.
And I told him my story.
Uh-huh.
And he said, show me. He didn't believe me. He said, show me.
He didn't believe that you had weighed that much in the past.
Yeah, he didn't, you don't have, you don't have skin. And I showed him, he's like, you're kidding me. This is it? This is what you're worried about? To me, it's like, I feel like a deflated balloon,
Mm-hmm.
To me, I definitely do have sagging skin. The place that I'm most self-conscious is my legs, because my weight was butt and legs. I'm sure if you look back at those previous pictures, I carried my weight, hips, butt, and legs. And so I've got a considerable amount of skin in my legs. And of course, whenever you have babies, you've got the belly bag. I have a very strict regime that has helped, obviously, I would think. I have been through all of the firming creams on the market.
Okay.
And I even brought it down here because I knew you were going to ask. This is the one that I found.
A little bit closer to your face, so it's in the camera. There you go. So what is it called?
So this is Palmer's Cocoa Butter Firming Butter.
Never heard of it before. Wow.
It's cheap too. It's like, I don't know, $6 a bottle.
Wow.
And
Okay.
I use that daily, and I also take collagen supplements and have for years and years. And then the other thing, I can't remember what the machine is called exactly. I call it the jiggler. You get on it, it's a plate, like an exercise step looking thing. And it does up and down jiggles and then vibrations and then side to side.
Uh-huh.
And what that is said to do is it's said to stimulate collagen production and what we need the collagen to firm the skin. And so it does all sorts of different programs, but the whole idea behind it is it stimulates the collagen production, helps aid with blood flow and all of those things. So if somebody's super concerned about it, invest in one of those, some of the firming butter and collagen supplements. It has helped me immensely. There's no question there's going to be skin, but I would much rather have the skin than the weight.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, my husband doesn't see it. He loves me for who I am.
Yeah.
And we have lots of conversations about this kind of thing, and it's not an issue.
It's not an issue. That's awesome. I love it. Yeah. Yeah. Good news for you is that you got so much weight off when you were relatively young.
Yeah.
It's a little harder when you're in your 50s and 60s. The skin
Sure.
is not quite elastic and pliable. So, yeah. Well, I guess I just have one last question.
Okay.
And that would be, what if you so let's say that we have podcast listeners who have been really struggling for many years and they've tried one diet after another, and what would you say is the most let's just say 3 to 5 most important things that you wish you would have known from the beginning that you know now that have helped you the most on your journey?
Persistence, determination, and courage. That's been one of my mantras the entire time. Persistence is just showing up every day and doing what you need to do. Determination is no ifs, ands, or buts. There is a way to conquer this, and the excuses are always going to be there, but your determination is bigger than that if you allow it to be.
Yeah.
And courage, because it is hard. And it takes a lot of courage to show up every day and to put yourself in that place of it's a constant place of vulnerability. I think back in the day, if I were to be talking to that person, progress, not perfection. Moment by moment. Don't let one moment ruin your entire day.
Oh, that's such good advice.
And figure out how to love yourself enough to do what it takes.
That's such an important point too. Like this is a journey of self-love. It really is. The journey of you putting your needs ahead of what's going on around you and taking yourself seriously. Taking your needs seriously. And being willing to be extra. Having that courage, Yeah.
And just it.
Yeah.
And those 3 words have given me a lot of inspiration.
What are they again? Persistence, determination, and courage. Yeah.
And I have a whole thing on my wall that has, the little definitions under them. It's I look at them every day.
How important was it for you to, um, or maybe I should rephrase this question. Um, how I'm trying to figure out how to say it. Um, you understand that sugar and flour are drugs now, and that they're
Okay.
highly addictive, and that what you were experiencing was a drug addiction, basically. Is that
Correct.
that's
Correct.
correct? Okay. Um, did that take a while to actually sink in, like what that means in terms of how you live your life?
Yes, and it was in stages.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
so when I worked with you and I learned the teaspoons of sugar entering the bloodstream, that was one like, oh wow, I had never thought of it that way.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I discovered um, how it affected my body and how my thyroid functioned, because they're so terribly inflammatory.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that was another piece of the puzzle. And then when I started looking at addiction in a whole and realizing that my behaviors around those substances were no different than a classic alcoholic or drug addict.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it just all came down to this solid piece of evidence that that is absolutely what it is. It is a drug.
Mm-hmm.
It is a
Do
drug.
you then try to stay abstinent from sugar and flour products? Or
Oh, yes. And I haven't had sugar is harder because sugar is hidden
mm-hmm.
everywhere. In even your sauces, like your tomato sauce that is 6 grams of carbohydrates, my blood sugar skyrockets
Mm-hmm.
because there are sugars there that we're
Mm-hmm.
not aware of.
Mm-hmm.
But flour, I haven't had flour in 6 years.
Do you
No gluten products at all.
do you miss it?
No, not anymore.
I don't either. Like,
I don't at all. And it didn't take me terribly long because I felt so much better.
yeah, yeah.
Because it takes at least 30 days for your body to get rid of gluten and the effects of gluten.
Mm-hmm.
And once that happens, clarity
Mm-hmm.
in your mind and your thought process, digestion is better.
Mm-hmm.
Just so many things are better. You feel better.
Yeah,
And so, no, I don't miss it at all.
yeah.
At all.
Yeah, I don't either. I just feel icky when I eat that stuff, so.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So the recognition that these are actually addictive drugs kind of came in stages for you.
Mhm.
Yeah, I see that fairly frequently. I hardly see anybody the first time I say, this is a really powerful drug, and almost everybody in this country is addicted to them. They
They're like,
kind of
oh,
look at me like, what? What?
yeah.
No, that's not true. You know,
Yeah.
like, oh, it is. So,
That's what it is. Even McDonald's puts sugar on their French fries.
yeah,
So, I mean,
yeah, it's everywhere. And I say when you live in the Western food environment, and we're here in the United States, we've got podcast listeners all over the world. But here in the United States and everywhere where American food industry has infiltrated the culture, um, it is almost impossible to not have the disease of obesity. I mean, without being very deliberate and diligent about your food. Like, you have to be almost obsessed about your food in order to protect yourself from all the crap that's in it. So it's just a
I
tough problem. It's a really tough problem. So, yeah.
accept it.
All right. Well, do you have anything that I didn't ask you that you think is important for our listeners to hear?
I don't think so. I guess just words of encouragement for people. Don't sell yourself short. You can do it.
Mm-hmm.
Find your support system. Find what makes you tick in this regard, and just stick with it. Stick with it. And the hard days are the days that you have to maybe have personal time, on a hard day.
Yeah.
And give yourself the space to nurture those days. Those are the days that we need extra care and love for ourselves. Those are the days that we're struggling, and just don't give up.
Yeah.
If I can do it, anybody can.
Yeah. It takes determination and courage and persistence. Yes. Well, congratulations. And it's just wonderful to see how you've progressed over all of these years, and to just see the remarkable transformation. I was watching the outer transformation on Facebook, and I was just, now it's really cool to have seen the inner transformation now too with this conversation. So thank you so much for agreeing to this too, because I know it's hard to put yourself out there and tell your story like this, but I guarantee you will have inspired lots and lots of people. So congratulations.
I
Awesome.
appreciate it. This is way less painful than I thought it would be. So I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, thank you. All right.
Yeah.
Take care.
Yeah,
Bye.
you too. Bye.
Okay, this concludes my interview with Cassie Becker. Be sure to post any comments or reflections you have and give Cassie some love in the comments. I'm sure you gather from her experience, this is never going to be a straight line journey. You're always at risk for relapse. And it's so important to address not just the food, but to be willing to utilize medical or surgical help, to understand the psychological barriers and address them, and to really come to terms with the possibility that your brain is likely addicted to processed food. What I learned from Cassie is just how important it is to take this seriously and how much we really need support as we're dealing with this problem that affects so many people all over the world. I would venture to say that obesity is one of man's greatest struggle in modern times, and losing weight and keeping it off is one of the most difficult things people will ever do, and you just need support. So if you want support in your weight loss journey, be sure to join us in Empowered Weight Loss, where you'll be working with me in a community of people dedicated to learning everything it takes to lose weight and keep it off. It starts with the Done With Dieting Bootcamp. Just go to journeybeyondweightloss.com/yes to get started today, and I will see you in Empowered Weight Loss. I hope you've enjoyed meeting Cassie, and I hope you've been inspired by her. I will see you next week. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Hey, if you really want to lose weight and keep it off for good, your next step is to sign up for Dr. Angela's free weight loss course, where you're going to learn everything you need to get started on your weight loss journey the right way. Just head over to journeybeyondweightloss.com/free course to sign up. Also, it would be awesome if you could take a few moments and write a review on iTunes. Thanks, and we'll see you in Journey Beyond Weight Loss.